Foul Tips, the all baseball edition of the 1420 podcast. I have Jake Lindmeier, the co-coach of the Brooks Bombers of WCBL and Brookhaven baseball. Jake, thank you for joining us down in the tavern today. Man, you have a busy schedule. The WCBL season's coming to a grinding halt right away. You guys are in a playoff hunt, the first time in Bombers history. You guys are going for it. I saw you guys on the weekend. You took two from Edmonton. Tough one last night against McMurray. How's Brooks, Alberta treating you thus far?
Honestly, I'm having a blast. Small town feel. The billets are incredible. Our team is just a bunch of idiots that love each other. Like I haven't been in a dugout or a locker room like this in a while, where the guys just want to spend time together. You hear all the horror stories of summer ball coming from the States, and then you go to a different country with it, and there's 14,000 people. When I live in a metroplex of a couple million, it's different, and I've had an absolute blast with it so far.
No, it's a different field. There's no doubt about that. So how does a guy from Wausau, Wisconsin, who coaches in Dallas, Texas, end up in the thriving metropolis of Brooks, Alberta? 14,000 you said, and then you add in the mosquitoes and everything else. She's a different place. So Brooks, Alberta. But how do you end up in Brooks?
So I was looking for just a change. I was the youth director of a baseball org down there, as well as being the assistant coach, not getting paid a ton. Wanted to change for the summer, and I saw this job posted by Jason Wanler on ABCA, which is a coaching website in the States. And then I reached out, and then Bryce and I got hooked up. I actually turned the job down in March. And then in May, I said, you know what? Let me just call him again. And it was still open, so I took it. And I left 2.5 weeks after I took the job and showed up. It was eventful for sure.
I'm surprised Wanler returned your email after you refused him the first time. I've known Wanler for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. Jake, you were just kind of what we started talking on the field. You're a friendly guy out there. We started talking back in, I think our first game I had with you was early June in Medicine. No, it was in Brooks. Then we met each other in Medicine had a few days later. You were a catcher in your playing days. What's the biggest change from when you were a catcher to what you see now with catchers now that you're coaching?
I mean, we can beat a dead horse and talk about the one knee down stuff and moving a baseball, but the biggest thing that I've seen is it's a more athletic position now. You look at guys moving the baseball, you look at the stance setups, and things have changed, but the biggest pieces of catching is still the same. Catch the ball, throw the ball, keep your pitchers rolling, and keep a relationship with an umpire.
That's kind of where I wanted to go with this, considering I have the pleasure of officiating this sport with you crazy guys out in the field there multiple times a week, sometimes more than I want to be out there, but it's a job, I guess. You're a friendly guy out in the field. You seem to get along with not only your own players, the other team's coaches, and me and you get along quite well in the field so far. I think unless you like how depending how the playoffs go and where I end up for the playoff matchups that come along. Why do you feel that's important to have a good relationship on the field with not only the opposing team but with umpires?
Well, in summer ball, it's a little bit different. We got a bunch of kids that are out of school, trying to make a name for themselves, maybe get a chance to play at the next level. I'm just here to have a good time, honestly. Like I want our guys to have fun. I want it to be loose. That's what it's all about. But with the umpires, as much as I want to yell and scream at all of you, it's not going to do me any good. So if I can develop a relationship with you guys and kind of get to know you, and say I come back and we have that relationship where you're not walking into the park thinking, shit, I got to listen to Lindy all day.
Yeah.
He's just going to be down my throat. Like
we had a laugh at it. Like you had your first ejection in your coaching career, and I had my first ejection in over 20 plus years, pretty much right around the same time. So we kind of had a chuckle about it, because I'm not one to go out and look for trouble or even find trouble. And you seem to be the same way out in the field, because I really think that I don't think it helps a baseball game by any means. Some coaches believe that you want to fire up your team by getting thrown out of a game. I think it's a complete negative effect on a baseball game, like in every single time. You have too many people who get pissed off. I don't think it helps a game at all.
I think if you do it in the right way, there is times that it is beneficial to a team, but you also have to have the right dynamic in a dugout to understand, like, the coach is doing it for you. You need to keep your mouth shut.
So how do you pass that knowledge now that you're a little bit older? You're not squatting behind the plate anymore. How do you pass that knowledge on to a catcher? That okay, just like what do you say to your catchers now that you got some guys? Because your guys in Brooks are pretty good. I've worked a couple of games behind the plate. They're pretty good. They don't say a whole bunch, just enough. They're inquisitive, but they're not rude. How do you pass that knowledge on to your catchers, saying, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do with umpires, and like, what's the first thing you taught your catchers this summer, and then going back into college? What's like one of the first things you teach a new catcher that you're dealing with?
So I see where they're at. So obviously I want them on a first name basis with you. I don't want blue or sir. I think that's, I mean,
I haven't wore blue in 20 years. But
yeah,
anyways, that's another
thing. So I call, I mean, we tell all of our guys, and that's even down into like the 10U range. Get to know them by first name. They're humans. And once you can break through that barrier, I think it opens up a lot more. And for me, what I want them to do is I want them to be a partnership with you almost as much as they are with every pitcher that steps on the mound, because at the end of the day, if we can get you not on our side, but at least working with us where we're talking
100%.
in zones, we're going to be more beneficial. And then in the fifth or sixth or the second game that we have with you, if we think you miss a pitch, you're not going to take offense to us saying, Brent, where the hell was that pitch? Like,
well, that's exactly it. It's quite like there was one situation, I think it was last week with Dion Reese in Medicine Hat. He was catching, and he thought a pitch was a strike, and he just goes, "Oh, I wanted that one." And I said, "Well, yeah, maybe I missed that one." You don't have to yell and scream, as opposed to if whoever the coach is that started yelling from the dugout that he thought it was inside or outside. Because, like you said before, you can only see up and down, right? And so I've learned over the years to not say it's up or it's down, because you can see that. Whereas like Dion said, I wanted that one, it wasn't out, and he wasn't rude. He said it away, like when the batter was out of the box, and he said it under his breath just enough where it's like, you might have missed that one. It's more beneficial with that relationship with a catcher than it is to have everybody barking down your throat, because people are gonna screw up. Infielders make mistakes, coaches make mistakes, umpires make mistakes. That's what makes our game so great. So do you pass that on to the catchers, like, okay, you might get upset because these kids are full of testosterone, they're 18 to 22 years old, and they're going to be animals at times. Do you pass it on to them? It's not going to really benefit you to be an asshole.
I mean, so we got a kid from New York and a kid from Chicago.
Both
hard. Both, I mean, they're great kids, but competition comes out in them and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
And what we do is we want to have the conversation as far as, like, you can get pissed off at a guy and you can let him know he messed up, but as long as you're not down his throat, let me do that. If you let me get on him and you tell him, hey, where was that or whatever, like, I had that relationship when I was playing with all the umpires that I worked with. I'd look at him, I said, dude, we can't, that ball's not off or that ball's not up. Like, you either need to lock in or get a better view. And that's where I think the video that you actually asked me about on Twitter, the first question, can I help you? If I'm missing a strike or missing a corner, can I set up better so you can see it? Like, and if we can develop that where we're making changes before we go off on this guy, every umpire sets up differently, even though they're not supposed to. Every guy's a little bit different. So we always talk about body angle. We talk about angles back to the plate. Do we need to hide from it? Do we need to show him more? And once we can figure that out, we're going to be able to get more calls.
Yeah, it's 100% true. We after a game, we because we don't have an evaluator that comes around anymore for whatever reason. That's another story for another day, and we'll get into that in a different show once the season's over. But we talk with each other and what they could have done right and what they could have done wrong. And I'll say your head height was not good. You're too far back. You're too far forward. You're getting blocked out. Like all the stuff that I can see, especially when I'm on the inside of the field, you can see a lot more of that. When I'm out on the sides, you can't see that as much. But you do need to have a good relationship with the catcher. And if something's messed up, because there are catchers now who set up late, and so you're moving all over the place. And the one knee thing, that drives me crazy because then they're moving all the time. Like right, even when the pitch is coming down the lane, these one knee guys are moving right to the bitter end.
I mean, I like to get our guys set up early. And I mean, it's a conversation that we have with our catchers right away. We want your body on the plate 60%, and we want you set up early. One, pitchers don't like focal points moving, and that's why we tell guys not to look at the glove. And two, you have to get set up. And the later you get set up, the more opportunity there is for you to miss pitches.
Yeah.
And there's nothing around it. Like, it's no one's fault but the catcher's. If he's not set up, you can't get set up. There's no way. Like, because if you get blocked and miss a pitch, you're going to hear it from both sides. Like, there's just.
How do you get your catchers to get in a? Because me personally, I like when a pitcher and a catcher and umpire are all in sync and are working fast.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please get that going around this league somehow, some way? Because it seems that it drags a lot, and like if things get going and an umpire gets used to calling strikes, he'll call strikes because we're there to call outs and strikes and get the heck to the bar or whatever afterwards, right? Like it's like let's get this going because no one likes a 3.5 hour, 4 hour game. So a pitcher's throwing strikes and working fast, it's more beneficial to the game in general. The fans enjoy it a lot more too.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that you can put into play, but I mean, I don't think the pitch clock is an issue. I don't want to see that come in, but it's one of those things is we're not professional players here. There's a couple kids that are going to go have the opportunity to do it. But if we're getting a 21-inch zone, a ball either way out and in,
yeah,
and go a quarter ball down and get it to the letters. I mean, it's big.
This is being recorded now, so I can use this now. This is a thing. No, I get it.
Fine, but if we're consistent with it, and I think we talked about it yesterday, if you're consistently big, you're not going to have those balls that get missed in the zone.
100%. Now, I was talking to Jordan before he went a little bit haywire the other day on the field, and he was saying the same thing when he was a hitter. When he played 100 years ago, he liked the bigger zones, and he would come up swinging. And if he was leaving it up to an umpire to change things, it would really screw up not only the hitter but the catcher as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Like you look at the zone now, a guy starts running it up with some velocity and starts spinning it a little bit. Maybe we can push it down a little bit because hitting a 92-mile-an-hour fastball at the letters is tough.
Ain't catching it, yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's if you got 85 to 87 on the mound, which a lot of this league is.
Yeah.
If he's got two pitches, he should be able to work effectively in this league.
100%.
If he's going to sit there and have to throw it over the absolute white all day long, he's not going to do it consistently. Like if we expand it a little bit, you'll get gripe for 2 innings. And then everybody's going to realize, okay, the zone's big today. And then it goes away.
Yeah, that's what I kind of try to, like with a fastball, I'll call a fastball up because it's there. And it's hittable. It's there. Like you don't want to have your pitcher living up there anyways, but if it's there, but if it's a breaking ball up and it comes down, that's a different story for me.
Yeah.
That's just me. But if it's a fastball that's just across the plane, it hasn't moved a bunch, it's up a little bit, call it a strike. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite that thing. What tricks have you learned as a coach to like Jedi mind tricks as a coach that you didn't know as a catcher that you wish you would have known when you were catching in the last X amount of years since you've been on the baselines, not behind the plate?
I mean, I've had a couple good one-liners come out of the dugout. I mean, there's a reason I've only been thrown out one time.
Yeah.
I mean, but just being able to talk to him in between innings, having that relationship where you can go have conversation. And I think the thing that I wish I would have known the most is honestly the way that we catch now, moving balls back to the plate. And
Yeah.
I mean, my knees would be thankful if I got to catch off a knee a little bit longer, but
catchers can change the attitude of a game quickly
mm-hmm.
with an umpire, with with their own bench. If a coach or a manager or skip, whatever you want to call them, if they ask the catcher where was that, and the catcher reacts negatively, that can not just the umpire might get pissed off. I mean, I personally don't care if I missed it. You can tell me I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah.
I missed it. Sorry. I'll say sorry. But if a catcher says something to the entire bench, he can get that bench on the umpire, and that can cause just a disaster for that team.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you can use the open and closed hand. You can use the glove on, glove off.
Yeah.
Grab your mask if it's a strike, that type of stuff. I mean, there's ways to tell me, yeah, it's a strike, and not, no, he just missed it. Like, I love watching teams. The coach asked where it was. I don't know. Well,
the hand shrug and the shoulder shrug. I don't like that one.
No, like
because then sometimes there's 4,000 people behind you going, oh fuck, the umpire doesn't know where it's going, and if the catcher doesn't know, then they don't know, and it just causes a wreck for everybody for on both sides.
Yeah, I hate the shoulder shrug myself because it's not beneficial. Now, late in the game, big play, he throws his hands up. I mean, I understand it there, but at the same time, like, throwing your hands up does nothing for us. Tell me it's a strike. Tell me, like, you can tell me quietly you missed it.
Yeah.
And after that, like, if I need to go talk to him and get it out of him that he missed it, okay. Like, I'm fine with that. I think I've developed a relationship enough now with most of you guys that if I have something to say, I'll plead my case.
If a guy's having a bad night behind the plate, like the umpire wise, and you know it and you see it, and it happens. It happens. I mean, I had one 20 years ago. I'm too kidding. If a guy's having a bad night, do you try to get your catcher to console him? Not console him, like rub his nuts a little bit, say, okay, where'd that miss? Because he ain't going anywhere, and you still got to get the game done. Like, how do you as a coach deal with that? And how do you get the catcher to maybe rub the umpire's nuts a little bit and give him the angry beetle a little bit, like a little.
I'll give him. I mean, we'll just have him try and have the conversation with him a little bit. I'll go out to him in between innings. I'll crack a joke about how bad he's been, like, and hey, we all have bad nights. It's okay, but you got 4 innings to go. So, like, but I'm not going to go out there and just MF the guy because he's having a bad night. You can tell when a guy's having a bad night. Like,
like the umpire knows. Like, there's no way. Like, there's no way when a guy sitting in the locker room afterwards taking his crap off and he had a crap night. There's no way he's just having. I hope. I mean, there probably are guys in this league and throughout leagues right across North America but in general, when a guy has a bad night, he's pretty quiet in the locker room afterwards.
Yeah, and like, again, he's human. I'm not trying to beat a guy down, but when you're having a bad night, don't cause any more attention to yourself than everybody already knows you having a bad night is.
That's 100%.
And that's part of the reason I got dumped the night I did, because it turned into, let me show you how much I know. Like, don't go to the rule book. Don't tell me up and down. And, like, don't try and show me how good you are. Like, if you can just control the game and be there, and if you determine a rule and that's how you go by it and that's how you're calling it, I can't argue it. You're in control of the game. I can ask you to go get help. I can do whatever. But at the end of the day, once you make your call, it's finalized.
The best way to get through a game is like you said, game management for me, and just get through it. Like me and Brandon Oberg, we do this thing. I count outs. Every game is 54 outs, or it could be 51. And then the other day when we had the doubleheader in your guys' park in Brooks, when we were driving there. I said, well, it's an 84 out game, 84 out day, because it was 2 sevens. It ended up being a long afternoon, but it's game management and getting outs is how I deal with it. How do you, like, with hitters now? One thing that makes me absolutely bananas is when a hitter asks, is that top? Is that out, as far out as you'll go? Is that bottom? I had a hitter this year, and he asked for every pitch. Pretty good player, not great, but he's pretty good. And every pitch he's asking, dude, swing the bat. And he asked me finally, is that as far out as you'll go? And I said, if you ask one more time, I will go right to that dugout. I'll go, it's that far out. Like, just quit it. Do you get, like, what do you say to your hitters when they start questioning the umpire?
So we teach it. We don't want it every pitch, though, right? Like, it first at bat, get to know a guy. Hey, is that as far as you'll go? Is that as far up as you'll go? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm good with it in the first at bat. But if you're asking in the sixth, like, you're asking for help. And like that drives me nuts. Like, we tell our hitters, like, at the college level or at the college anyways, look at someone that's similar to you and then see how they're pitched. That's how you're going to be pitched until they get to know you. So if you're a 6'4" donkey hitting behind a 6'4" donkey, you're probably getting the same sequencing for the first 2 games.
Yeah.
So pay attention to it. And, like, we keep tendency charts on what guys are thrown. And the more you know what you're looking to hit, I mean, I look at the guy that played in Canada for a while, Vladdy, senior, like, that dude hit balls from everywhere.
Everywhere.
And it's one of those things.
He's bouncing, he was swinging.
But if you have good bat-to-ball skills, which a lot of these guys don't realize how good their hands are, go attack something. If it's a ball out, if it's a ball down, like, look at Denver Blinn with us.
Yeah.
Balls that are 2-3 balls off the plate and has barrel to him. But he's looking to swing. He's looking to go do damage.
No, I like him. He's a good player. He needs a bigger glove some nights out there, but he's in general, he's a good little player, and he plays hard. And he doesn't say a whole bunch. He plays like he's a polite kid. I quite like him. We'll get off of this umpire, well, not forever, but the umpire coach catcher relationship. Have you had to pull a catcher even though he's having a pretty good night, but he's just not getting the calls, or he's just so flustered with the umpire, and you can just see it. It's not going to get any better. Like, the umpire ain't going anywhere. The coach ain't going anywhere. The only thing you can really do is replace the catcher, because maybe the umpire and the catcher just don't mix, and he ain't getting the calls, or things have just gone sideways.
I haven't had to do that. I've thought about it many times, but I haven't had to. I could see a defensive replacement late in the game where we're trying to get something, but I try and get who's umpiring the day before, so I know, like, especially at the school, because we get a lot of the same guys.
Yeah.
And if I know a guy doesn't clash, he's probably not catching.
Yeah, that probably comes in pretty handy. I mean, there isn't many guys that I don't like working behind in this league. You see everybody pretty much, like I said, 2 or 3 times a week, and you get to know them a little bit. It's a pretty quick turnaround. This league, it's done in, well, it seems quick, but it seemed to be dragging at times too. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. When an umpire makes a mistake, do you appreciate when they say, yeah, I missed it? Or do you want them to not say that, because it puts a bit of doubt in your mind and the catcher's mind that, geez, this guy doesn't know what he's doing?
I don't mind a guy saying he missed it. Like, it happens. Like, I don't need him to show me and say, hey, I missed it. Like, what do you want? Like, come up to me in between innings. Hey, I missed that one. Yeah. Okay, cool. Like, but if we're doing it 3 and 4 times a day, like, that's where we're going to have issues.
Yeah. Because I had one at the CCBC level, Okanagan, actually, at the championship. What's his name? Caleb Lumbar. He catches for Okotoks now.
Mm-hmm.
And the game was out of hand. Okanagan was killing. I can't remember where they were playing. It was 13 or 14-2 kind of deal. And there was a pitch that I thought was going to move, and it didn't. And I called it a ball. And as soon as I said ball, I went, fuck. And he laughed. Caleb laughed. He said, yeah, don't tell your coach till after the game about this. He goes, yeah, that's fine, whatever, not a big deal. It's good to have that relationship. And I said, yeah, I just missed. I was too quick on it, and I called it a ball, and I shouldn't have. And it went well in my favor because they know like I'm a human being just like they are. I'm not out there to cause a ruckus. Is there something like there are umpires out there in this league and in every league that are out there to cause a ruckus and show you that they're the smartest man in the room, and they're out there being a police officer and not an official. How do you deal with those guys, and how do you get your catchers to deal with those guys?
Well, I know that you only got 9 innings with them, and someone else will be back there tomorrow night.
Yeah,
like I think you touched on it. You made a call too quick. There's that little 2-second window that you have.
Yeah.
And I look at guys that make the call as soon as they can, and it's like, just wait. You're rushing. You're trying to
nothing
be
but time.
And then you got the guys that take too long, so you got guys looking back at you, and I think that's where you're going to have issues too. Is if you hold it and wait on it, and a guy gets 2 steps out of the box before you ring him up. Now we're going to be just freaking out. Like the guys that flinch, that you just sit there and like, they jump up on every pitch, and it's like, is that a strike? No. Okay,
good enough. What's the best advice that you were given when you started? Like you've been coaching for a few years now. What's the best advice that you've been given from head coaches or wherever you've been since you started coaching on how to deal with umpires and how to get your catcher to deal with an umpire in a proper manner? Like who gave it to you for starter? Like who gave you this advice and what was it?
So I mean, there's a couple of them. My head coach in college, Mike Holichuk, anytime he went out to argue, he would walk.
Oh.
He would walk out there, and then he wouldn't yell, scream. He would ask, "What do you have? What do you have?"
Yeah.
And it's hilarious doing it with umpires that don't know how to control it, because they're expecting you to come out and want to get in a yelling match. And in turn, they freak out. Most guys are in control, but you'll get the occasional like, well, what did you have? I'm just trying to figure out what you had there.
Yeah.
And then if I disagree, then I can kind of get into it with you. But if I'm just coming to yell and scream,
then I can just yell and scream back.
Yeah.
And nothing gets solved. And everybody's just pissed off.
Yeah. And it's funny. Like I can yell stuff from the dugout and learn how to do that. But I think just being able to befriend the guys that are calling a game is going to take you a lot farther. Like we have 1 year in now officially with 4 games left. We're 1 year vet coaches. We're not, I mean, we're still rookies, but it's one of those things. We know most of the guys we're getting now. You know our faces. You know who we are. We have a reputation now. We have a rapport with you guys. Once you develop a good rapport, you can have a bad night where you want to MF the world and let a guy know, and you're probably going to stay in a game a lot longer.
Yeah, I mean, I used to say, like, I had 2 this year. One might have been a little quick, but I kind of had to do, in my opinion, I had to do something because they were yipping from the first pitch, and then it continued on and on and on. And I said, it's only the second inning. If I don't do something, because telling them just to shut up ain't working.
Yep.
I had to do something that they knew. I was like, okay, we're not doing this all night. And that was, so I had to, I don't like throwing guys out because then I got to do a report afterwards, and that's my time to have a Bud Light and whatever I want, right? So having to do a report afterwards and then trying to recall the situation and not get emotion involved in that report and actually just want to tell the truth, that's a tough thing to do 3.5, 4 hours later. Mm-hmm. And just there was I threw the guy out because I felt that it was going to be a long night for me, no matter if I was right, wrong, or indifferent with every call that I was making. So I said, well, that's enough. Like this has to stop. The catcher actually came out and he it was for Regina. I'm not gonna, they probably aren't gonna listen to this anyway. So I'm just saying, but it was he came out and he actually apologized for the coach's behavior. Like he was, yeah, you were right to do something. But then there's guys that have a quick trigger, and want to throw guys out just so they can throw guys out, and they can tell their wife over dinner the next day for breakfast that throw guys out. And that's one thing I will never understand, why you want to get guys out of the game.
So there's been a few instances that I felt like I was on a high school or younger diamond in this league with guys with quick trigger, and it's one of those things. You're dealing with college guys that have more freedom than they do at school.
Yeah.
They got to be respectful, but at the end of the day, if they don't agree with you, you might hear a swear word on the diamond. You might.
Whatever.
It is what it is. I mean, I saw a kid get thrown out for a standoff, and we hadn't even done the ceremonial first pitch yet. And it's
Gross.
like,
I heard about that, and then I went back and looked at it, and I couldn't believe it. I was shocked.
It's one of those things like that's where you get teams to turn on you. And there's not going to be a happy relationship anytime you're on that diamond.
No.
And that's a problem. Like, it just as much as we need to, I mean, keep our mouth shut at times. I know that. We've gone over, we had a conversation about it 3 weeks ago. I know we've done that. But at the end of the day, it's a two-way street. And if there's no accountability on both sides, it's just going to turn into a mess. Like,
yeah, the thing that I found about this league over the years, been doing this for quite a few years now, is that in general, like the players, while they're playing, they want to win. The coaches, they take it home with them, but the players, when the game's over at night, they don't care. It's over. They're thinking about God knows what else afterwards. But when they're at the field, they want to win. The fans care more about winning. The management cares more about winning. The players just want to play a game and go have some fun, especially in summer baseball. They don't have a long-term allegiance to it like they do with their schools. They might come back for a second. Rarely a third. Very rarely do you see the same coaches year after year in this league. So it's funny when umpires get so worked up about a game that not many people care about when it's all said, when it's over. While it's happening, they care. But when sometimes it's the seventh inning, they've already checked out. So it's just odd that people get so worked up about something that this doesn't really matter to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's the testosterone in the room, right? We have a bunch of competitive guys that if they get screwed in their mind on a call, they're going to have their opinion. If they're not getting in your face, if they're walking away, turn your rabbit ears off. Like, guys,
hear everything but don't listen.
Make sure it's not egregious. Make sure it's not going to turn a kid away from the stadium, and move on.
You'll let the fans do that. They get a little aggressive sometimes in the what's that called, the flight deck. I knew when Wandler, if you listen to this, I knew when you guys put that in there that was a disaster waiting to happen, because the dugout is so close to third base, and the yipping that was going to happen from people drinking Bud Lights up there for 7.5 innings was not a good idea. That's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. But anyways,
that's home field advantage, and I love every single person that goes up on that flight deck.
We don't have the thing is, though, Jake, we don't have a home field, as umpires. We're always on the road. Don't
be bad.
In somebody's eyes, after he's had 14 Bud Lights and 3 piston brokes or whatever, it can change the outlook. Jake, what's the once we'll get into the WCBL thing in a second after a quick break here, but what's one thing that you have taught both of your catchers this summer that you're most proud of?
I think so. Jimmy Costin is a little bit more pro style, I guess is the way to say it. His cousin is playing in the Twins organization. He's been around it a little bit more as far as a pro style. We've gotten to talk a little bit about body awareness, umpire relations as far as like body positioning, glove movements, how to clean stuff up. We've done some throwing stuff. Chris Akers probably has one of the best amateur arms I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a cannon. There's no doubt about that.
There's no way around it. And I think learning when to holster it's been a huge thing for him. because he's a kid that loves to throw, loves the back pick, and there's times for it. There's times to sit on it. And I think teaching him some of that stuff, and then really working his glove, because when he got here, it wasn't the best, to put it that way.
Yeah.
And he knew that. And I think he realized it when he saw Jimmy start catching. And his glove over the 2 months that we've worked together is leaps and bounds better than May when he got here. And it's been fun to work with him every day for 20, 25 minutes, just touch on a topic and go. And they've been really receptive to it. They're best friends now.
And that's odd for guys battling for playing time. That's for them to be friends like that. That's strange. It's good.
It really is. Like, but they hang out all the time, and it's really fun to see. Like, two guys that push each other. We were in Moose Jaw for 2, and Akers had the first game, Jimmy had the first game, and Akers and I were just riding him for 9 straight innings.
Yeah.
Like, just giving him the business. Everything that he did wrong, we were yelling at him. We were just giving it to him. And then the next night, Jimmy and I did it back to Akers, and we had a blast with it. Like, catches a ball and gets a strike and said, "Hey, you can do it, good." And
there you go.
Like, they're running down the line, and we're making them laugh as having to put their mask back on. Like, it's been fun to work with them for sure.
No, that's a good thing. No, you guys have definitely improved. We'll get that. We'll take a break here. We'll get into how your team's improved over the year. But I think you guys are the most improved team that I've seen in this league. And I've seen every team except for Swift Current so far this year. Yeah, you guys, like, you're improved a lot. You got off to a really rough start. And if you would have won 3 or 4 of those games in the opening, you wouldn't be where you're at for these last 4. You got some tough ones coming up in Sylvan Lake and Okotoks. So you put yourself in this position, but I think you guys will be fine. I think you'll get through it.
Yeah.
I can say that now because I'm not part of any of those games, so I can say whatever I want. I'm not. No one can come back on me on that. So, no, Jake, thanks for joining us on Foul Tips, the 1420 podcast. We'll take a little break here, and we'll get into how your season's been going. We'll talk a little WCBL. The 1420 podcast brought to you by SeatGeek and SeatGeek.com. Use promo code 1420pod. That's 1420pod for $20 off your first purchase, and save yourself some money for some beers. 1420 Sports Podcast, Foul Tips. I'm sitting here with Jake from the Brooks Bombers. Jake, we'll talk about your team a little bit and how you guys have been doing. Like we discussed in the last segment a little bit, you guys got off to a rough start. It looked as though you weren't going to win a game for quite some time. You were stuck at 2 wins and 10 losses, and now you're battling for that last playoff spot in the Western Conference. What's changed so much for your team since those first 12, 15 games?
So we started 2-11, and our 2 wins were walk-offs. Like, it was just one of those things. Like, you couldn't figure it out. Like, the days we would pitch, we wouldn't hit. The days that we'd hit, we wouldn't pitch. And it was frustrating. We weren't getting blown out. We got walked off a couple times. Couple 2-3 run games, nothing crazy. And we told our guys, like, weather this storm. We promise you, we're good enough. We have this team together. It'll turn around. And then we went up to Fort Mac, and we win. So we lose the travel day. We win game 2, and it's Wednesday. And the guys did some team bonding after the game. And all of a sudden, there was a different demeanor. We lost a close one to a pretty good pitcher in game 3, and we won game 4. So we lost the 3rd one and then won the 4th, and we doubled our win total, and we were like we ended up being 4-13. And you would have thought we were 13-4 after winning that 2nd game.
Yeah.
Like, the guys just had a different demeanor about them. And then we ran off a 3-game win streak, and then slowly but surely started making some moves. Had a week where we forgot how to throw balls in the strike zone. It might have been umpire related, but we're over that topic. And then And then all of a sudden, the back half of the year, we're since that 2-11 start, we're what, 23-15.
That's real good for this league. That's real good. Most teams are end up around like you got your superstar teams like your Okotoks, who I think can be beaten. Sylvan Lake, I think the teams in the East are pretty good. With Moose Jaw, they can hit. I think Regina can pitch a little bit, but I think you guys are right there. And like I said, I can say that right now because I might be done with you guys. You guys are right there. Some pitchers that you guys have got going right now, and you guys can hit a little bit, and you seem to be having a lot of fun. How's your experience been thus far in Brooks? What's been some high points in that season? Just the community and then the game day experience in general in Brooks.
I mean, I wouldn't want to play here in a playoff game. I can tell you that much. Our fans have been a lot of fun to deal with. The thing that I've noticed about the WCBL just in general is people that come to the games know baseball.
Yeah,
and it's very apparent. Like some of the chirps coming from the stands have been like, "Damn, that was actually pretty good. Like you actually get this game a little bit."
yeah.
The atmospheres have been incredible. I think Okotoks and Sylvan do a great game day media. I think their on-field stuff has been great. I mean, Lethbridge is a cool older stadium. Playing in Moose Jaw the other day was cool with the old time feel. It's a good vibe up here. The baseball's good, the atmospheres are good, and then you get a ton of ABs and you can get your work in.
How is it different? Like you said, you grew up in and around the Northwoods League. How is this league a little bit different than the Northwoods League, other than the amount of games? But
Well, I love the travel schedule here because I don't have to spend all summer in a hotel room, which is nice. Well, we only have to do a couple nights here and there, but we're home every night. The billets have been absolutely incredible. Um, there, there's just it's a more sense of community for me, at least in Brooks. The Northwoods League, obviously, having 2,500 to 7,000 every single night is a little bit different.
yeah,
But there's still the talent up here. You might not have the big D1 names all over the place like you would in that league, but I don't see any reason why this league isn't as competitive, maybe one step below that as it could be.
what's been, other than like you said, your billet family, and then the what's been the best part of your first experience in the Western Canadian Baseball League? We've had pretty much a 2-year hiatus. Yeah, we had a 5-team league last year, but it wasn't. It was pretty. It was shitty. It wasn't. It wasn't very good. What's been your best experience this year in the WCBL?
Brooks, Alberta. What else is there?
You just lied to me.
Honestly, just getting to know people, getting to meet kids, talk with fans, getting heckled, and then going and actually having a conversation with people has been funny because you see them like not know what to do for the first couple conversation pieces, and then they realize like, oh, you're gonna have a conversation with me all day, and then a good thing happens for their team, and they let me hear it.
Yeah,
and then a good thing happens for us, and then I turn around and just give them a nice little smirk, and it's all in good fun. It's been really fun getting to know people up here.
no, I have a blast doing. Like there's days where I wouldn't want to go as far as say I'm dreading going to a game. There's days you're like, Jesus, I'd rather not. But then once I'm there, it's always fine. It's always a good time. Yeah, but by the end of the game, I'm usually smiles and everything's good. But there are times, I'm not gonna lie, that I like right now, not just like right now, for example, I'm like, geez, it's a nice day outside. I don't really want to drive the Medicine Hat in a game that who knows what's going to happen. It could be a 2-hour event, it could be a 4-hour event. So you kind of get you talk yourself out of it a little bit. If you could change one thing in the WCBL, what would it be?
I think if we could set up the scheduling a little bit better, where we're not bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if we could do like we were talking about it during the All-Star game, if we could do a Tuesday, Wednesday series and then a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, you give everybody off 2 days a week. You can set up your pitching that way. And then on top of that, you're still getting your 48 to 50 games. and the league's going to be, I think, better for it because guys aren't going to be as tired.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing for me is going back. I'd go back to a 48 game season, have the playoffs actually going right now, because you guys are going to get in a situation if you go deep that you're not going to have some players left, and there's going to be a lot of teams that are losing players. Like you guys lost a guy on Sunday already, and it's going to happen throughout the league. You see less and less players that are impactful players. That it's going to hurt quite a bit. Come the team that usually has the most players left at the end of the season, that's who usually wins.
I mean, you look at some of these teams that have academy affiliates, and there's a couple extra guys in dugouts, but I'm surprised with how many that we still have. I think we're still at like 25, 26,
Yeah.
which at this point in the year, like I know is tough because you're seeing teams with 18, 19, 21. Like this is where it gets fun because you're going to see position players maybe pitching. You're going to see pitchers maybe playing a position, and it creates for the theatrics.
No,
I mean, fans don't know any better.
They don't even know who the players are in general.
And so they see a new kid come on the mound, they see a new kid come into play, see a kid swing the bat for the first time, and it's like they're just excited to see it. And it's going to be interesting.
They're like we're all blowing rainbows and unicorns and everything else here, but there's got to be something that other than the schedule, something like what's been the worst experience so far that you've had in this league? There's got to be something. I mean, you're a pretty positive guy from what I know of you, being on the field with you and talking to you here today. You're a positive fella, but there's got to be something that you're like, oh, I cannot believe I'm part of this. I never want to see this. What's been the worst experience so far in your WCBL tenure?
Besides working with you and Brandon on games?
Well, Brandon, yeah. I'm a peach to be around.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think if you give the coaches an opportunity to give reports on games, like it cleans everything up. Because we're not going to sit there and hound umpires all game long. We can put it in a report, and we can let guys know, hey, it's coming from two sides. The zone gets a A- grade today. The calls, the positioning, something that happened, we can give a quick 5-minute report, and you're getting it from both sides. So if one side's complaining, you can look at it and go, hey, this is what it is. And then at the same time, if both sides are complaining, okay, maybe it was that bad.
Yeah, we used to have evaluators that would travel around and do a few games a year, and maybe I just didn't pay attention because I'm kind of aloof when it comes to that stuff. I haven't seen anybody come around and say yes, no, maybe so to me, or maybe they're watching on Home Team Live now. I don't know, but nobody's told me great game, bad game, indifferent, nothing. I haven't received a thumbs up or thumbs down all season long, and I'm at 30 some games already with 4 to go. It's odd that because we kind of officiate the game and we're supposed to be there to do it, and we haven't heard a thing. And so if guys aren't good or are really good, like I said, maybe they're watching on the Home Team Live thing, but it right now nobody really knows.
Yeah, I mean, and I have my opinions on East versus West, how that umpiring works, but it could be better. But other than that, I mean, realistically, this league's been absolutely incredible. I think it's a great place to come for guys that want to get better. I think it's a great place for coaches that want to grow. I know I have over the year. I mean, it's been a very informative time for me, but at the end of the day, there's going to be good and bad with everything, and the good far outweighs the bad here.
No, I agree. Like it's I have a lot of fun. It's like the season it feels like it's starting to drag a little bit. We're into August now, and there's still 3 weeks to go before I think if it goes the distance for all the playoff games, it goes the 18th of August. So it seems to be dragging a little bit, but once the intensity picks up a little bit, come playoff time, which are just best of 3 series, I believe it'll become a lot more fun, and hopefully we see you out there. I'm not playing favorites by any means, Jake, so don't think you're going to be getting a call because you're here joining me on the 1420 podcast, but you never know. Yeah, I'll give you one. Why not?
It's fine.
Yeah, it's
We'll
fine.
figure it out. Brandon will give it right back, so it's fine.
I will give it, and he will take us away. Ready to play some Pepper?
Sure.
Favorite player growing up?
David Wright.
He's a good player. Yeah. Favorite player. Favorite team growing up?
I was a Twins fan.
Been in the vicinity, right? Like it's the closest
Yeah,
thing you guys would have, probably.
about 3 hours from Minneapolis and 3 hours from Milwaukee. So we'd go to Brewers games all the time. We'd go. I actually was there when during the All-Star game, the home run derby, with Sammy Sosa launching balls out of the stadium.
Yeah.
My first year of college, I got to play in the Metrodome, so that was kind of cool.
I've been to Target. It's nice. It's a nice field. I like that. Yeah.
So I grew up going to the Metrodome and just sitting there watching just terrible baseball on the carpet.
Yeah.
And
Balls getting lost in the
yeah, and building a team for speed, and then moving outdoors was one of the most frustrating things in the world because you got to hit the ball out of the ballpark at that point. Like you're not playing on carpet anymore.
And then the plexiglass they had. This
Yep.
is 1,000 years ago, but yeah. How old were you when you hit your first home run?
I think 11 or 12
Where was it?
at the park right by my house in Little League.
Do you remember who the pitcher was?
It was off one of my buddies. I just don't remember which one.
One rule you would change in Major League Baseball if you were given the opportunity to be commissioner for a day. You get one rule, anything you want to do.
Bring back the contact at the plate.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That has changed the game quite a bit. I would one thing I would do as to get the game moving. Once a pitcher comes out of the bullpen, he gets 3 pitches. That's it. Let's go. You've been throwing down there for an hour and a half. You're telling me you can't get rid of them. You can't get used to the mound in 3. That's enough.
I mean, you can go the 3 batter rule. I think that's stupid. But I think bringing back contact. Obviously, I don't want guys to get hurt, but we're the only base that you can't cover standing over it when a ball's coming to you.
And that's the one that matters the most. It doesn't make sense. One more for you. Best player you ever played with or against, and how far did said person go?
I played against Tim Hill, who is pitching in Major League Baseball. Played against Dalton Varsho in high school, who's now with the Diamondbacks. Cedric Mullins was either a year behind me or in the same year of the Summer Collegiate League I played in.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's fun. Jake, thanks for joining us on the show. We went a little longer than I anticipated. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a diva. I started a little bit late. We went a little further than we should have. We wanted to, but it was a fun conversation. We'll get this out to the masses tonight, and hopefully you some of your insight gets out to people. And where can people follow you on Twitter and everything else? And what do you got going on after you're done with the Brooks Bombers in maybe the middle of August? What do you got going on?
So social media, Instagram and Twitter is Jake Lindy Jake Lindy 2021. I'm sure you can you posted it with the tweet. And then we start fall workouts at the college the 22nd. So
if you guys go all the way, you gotta trek to make quick like.
Yep. I gotta be back for workouts right away. So and then we get into our fall, and then I'm gone September and October every weekend at some recruiting event, either in Phoenix, Arizona, Houston, Texas, Jupiter, Florida. I'm all over the place again. So
wow, it's a job now. It's not just a recreational event baseball for you.
Hey, I'd much rather do this than wear a suit.
No, that's 100% true. No, Jake, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll get this out there. We can talk baseball. Maybe we'll have you on the show again when it's all said and done, or when you're down at your college in October. We'll update how things are going down there for you. And it was a lot of fun. Good talking to you. And maybe we'll see you next week. Who knows?
Hopefully.
Okay. If you guys keep going, we'll be there to screw something up for you guys for sure. Well, Jake, once again, thank you very much. And we will talk to you guys later. The 1420 podcast and Foul Tips brought to you by Manscaped and manscaped.com. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys later.